more problems within the past week. Good morning, everybody. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I am your host this morning. It's another Thursday. CM Chase is my co-host. John McDonough is behind the camera. Sometimes on the camera you will hear his voice in the background. If you see that we're not speaking or anything and we're looking in that direction, then you'll know that John is asking a question or making comments. At 7 o'clock we have Vivian Merrill coming on. I did text her. Well, actually I messaged her on Facebook.
She'll be here.
And she'll be here. We can talk about things dealing with insurance. So if anybody out there that just joined us has any questions about insurance, I'm certainly sure that Vivian can ask and answer any and all questions.
She's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, she wears a lot of other hats also, some of which she's given up, but we can certainly ask what the status report is on the committees she doesn't deal with anymore.
2 committees.
She gave up 2 committees?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can ask that question.
Yep.
And it was like 53, 57, somewhere in there. I think it was 53 degrees when I drove in this morning.
And it wasn't raining, which I thought was interesting, because having just watched the weather report on Channel 5,
Said it was supposed to.
and I look up in the sky and I said, well, maybe it'll rain later, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. So.
Well, it's supposed to rain off and on today, and they said it's supposed to be deluge, but it appeared to me as though on the extended radar, when I took a look at it, it's mostly south of us. But we will see how that goes.
I hope we get some, because we do need it.
It did rain yesterday off and on. Remember that rain, you do not have to shovel. We need all the rain that we can get, since there's a lot of places globally that don't have enough. And speaking of that, in terms of water,
Gotta have it.
Yeah, well, Chelmsford Water Department sent out another letter on PFAS.
Chelmsford, the Center District.
Yes. And so if you're in that particular district, take a look at that. That'll give you what the status report is on water. And then I sent a couple of articles. I don't know an awful lot about these data centers, but I know that there's different ones out there, and people are trying to keep them from happening. I am amused in a very negative way about all the climate control people and anybody that says they're environmentalists that wants these things to happen. They had a place in Georgia that's in a drought, and the hundreds of thousands of water that this particular data center does use, because they need cooling. Now, there are some places that cools geothermally. I will commend them for doing that, where they don't use up other natural resources. That does impact people, but the number of acres that it covers, they're using farmland for it. I'd like to know how these people think they're going to eat.
Which article? I'm looking at the ones you sent. Which one is it?
Let me look. I read a variety of them. I think
income tax, snacks recalled, oldest doctor,
maybe it's, and it could be on
kitchen secrets.
It could be on Facebook.
Oh, okay, so it's not.
So let me just take a look, and I can show you which one that is and what the source was of the information. So I have this over here. Let me see if it's on mine. You never know. I can always look it up, but there was the one that was in Georgia, and
Okay.
let me see. It should. I don't. I didn't see it on there either, but I know I read it, unless I just sent it to you guys. So let me do data center in. I love being able to do this with a telephone, so that you can research more stuff. Data center in.
Also, did that before the show?
I did it, and I can't find it. Well, no, there's over 200 facilities.
I was telling Cliff the other day, everybody has a remote control. As soon as you give them some dead air, they're gone.
Well, I'm not giving dead air. I'm talking about it. There are 200 facilities, some estimates over 260, concentrated heavily around metro Atlanta. And so that's what we're talking about, is that one, where there's, and they were taking the water and not paying for the water at the beginning when people in the neighborhoods around noticed that there was a drop in the water pressure. And when they complained, they realized what the issue was, and then they charged them the 100,000 or whatever the amount of money it was for the water that they were using. But I was
Taking the water.
the data centers, because they use the water as cooling. But there are data centers in the country that uses a geothermal way in which to cool. Now they're going to, in the West Fire Station, the new one that they're going to construct in Chelmsford, they're using geothermal energy for that particular facility because there's space that you can do that, but and availability, but there isn't in Station 5. And they will have the groundbreaking ceremonies for that next week.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Cohen's retirement party is also next week.
The 20th.
And Glenn's birthday, 76th birthday, is next week. So
What day?
the same day as his retirement party.
Oh, the 20th.
Yeah, the 20th. So
Well, then we'll have a cake. We'll make sure that there's a cake at the,
he likes ice cream, so we'll get an
with
ice cream.
76 candles on it.
Yeah, right. And make sure the fire department is there.
Yeah, it looks like a prairie fire.
You just get the numbers.
Huh?
Just get the number, 76.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can do that.
Yeah, I know. You just have 2 candles.
It would look cool though with 76 individual candles on there. Probably the frosting would melt though, right?
Well, by the time you, unless you had a blowtorch,
Yeah.
by the time you lit them, the ones that you started with would already be burnt down.
That's right.
I'm
Had
certainly
wax.
sure he'd be amused if we were talking about like that this morning. But I mean, I'm going to be 75 in the fall, and you just turned 79.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're all kids.
It's amazing how all of this stuff occurs. So, anyway, there was the Governor Healy. I mean, some of the stuff we can talk about in the next hour also, since it does affect Chelmsford, signed a bill. But the bill I wanted to read, it wasn't her, it wasn't she who initiated it. It was Rodney Elliott that initiated it. And that was to make sure that the Chelmsford firefighter that fell would get benefits, full benefits and pay. Because I'm of the understanding that the union's contract in Chelmsford didn't provide for that.
It's not the issue. The issue is that he was not working as a Chelmsford firefighter when the accident happened. And if they tried to put him out on 111F, which is the injured disability, it would be disallowed. The town, it's unfortunate because, people are talking about it as if the town had a responsibility and they didn't step up. That's not accurate. The town, from a legal standpoint, would not have been able to put him out on the disability because it would have been, it's illegal, it would have been considered fraud. So he was, and that's not to say
Oh, just
that,
a second now. Who were the
What?
police on this?
what? Just the
It could
firefighters.
have. Who's going to pull over the town of Chelmsford and say, let's see the payroll records for this fireman?
That's a different issue.
No, I'm just
And-
asking,
and
who is going to do this?
Somebody
And
would.
I bet you there's nobody.
Somebody would.
There's
yeah.
nobody.
Somebody
They
would.
should have. They should have paid this fireman from day one.
Well, they're
The
working.
only reason he was there is because he's a good firefighter in the town of Chelmsford. He's
If
got a
he-
reputation, and he's
If
able to teach.
If he fell off a ladder doing a side gig, would the town be responsible?
If it was putting out a fire, yes. Okay, if he ran into a house that was on fire and saved a 4-year-old, would that be considered on duty?
No, would not.
I would. I'd say he's on
Well,
duty.
he's not on the
You
clock.
would, John, but it's
Yeah,
not,
because-
it's not your
because-
decision. And look, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Regardless of how we get the guy paid, it should happen. I'm not disputing that.
The
All I'm
town
saying-
tried to wiggle.
All I'm saying is the way the regulation and the laws are set up in the state, the town cannot act, okay?
Oh my God! He
They
was
can't
doing
act.
60 on the connector.
All right?
Take his car away. The town tried to wiggle out of the claim.
No, I don't think that they did
No,
at
no,
all.
they did not.
All they just
Oh,
basically
you
said
guys-
was he wasn't working at the time,
Voted
and they
with
can't do
Chelmsford
that.
pride over
No,
there.
they did not try to wiggle out of anything.
Yes,
No.
you did.
And so, and then the question becomes, is it that Chelmsford pays or is it the state pays? Because the comments coming in were from the state fire marshal and that
Do you think the
particular
governor's
office.
going to pay? She's going to make the town pay.
I'm sure.
The
But
water
I
already-
wanted to give.
No, the way the mechanism works is after the enabling legislation is in place, he will continue to be paid through the town because that's the payroll agent, but the town will be reimbursed by the state. That's how it will work. Okay, so ultimately the state will pay for that, okay? Yeah, he'll get his money, that's the bottom line, okay? He'll get his money.
Yeah, because he intentionally didn't fall.
No.
I mean, it was
Well,
an
it
accident.
it doesn't matter.
Which is
okay?
unfortunate, and at least he's still with us.
The problem is, and I fully understand it,
And he's
and again,
progressing
100%, I would be angry if the guy weren't paid, okay, regardless of what the vehicle is. I don't care. He should be compensated, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. However, you have to look at the legality of it. And what John says is he doesn't agree with the law. That's what you're saying. But it doesn't mean that the law does not control in this particular case. Okay, so what the town did was the town, through its state legislature, the town, and the town's getting a bad rap on this, the town administration.
And they should.
The town administration actively lobbied the state so that this could happen. Okay, that's what happened.
They actively said, we ain't gonna pay you.
They actively, because they couldn't legally, okay? That's my point.
So in order to get around what the legal aspect was, this is why you went to they went to the state and did it.
Then the town went to the state and said, listen, he was working for you at the time, you should make the guy whole. And they said, there's no mechanism for us to do that directly, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to make an agreement that you guys will fund this guy, but you will be reimbursed by the state. And that's why it had to be done at a legislative level, because there is no law currently that covers that.
Sam, you can get
That's what
blue in
they
the
have to
face.
do.
I'm not gonna agree with you on this one.
No, I know you're not,
Well, that's fine.
but you're wrong.
But
And I think you're
The
wrong.
law is the law.
I think Chelmsford tried to wiggle out of the
The
claim.
law
no,
is the
if
law.
Chelmsford worked with Rodney Elliott and others in order to be able to
Right.
work this, they're not trying
If
to
you're
wiggle.
not gonna change my mind. Sorry,
I
my mind's
understand
made
that,
up.
but I'm just saying, and you can't selectively say I'm going to believe this law, but I'm not going to believe
Right,
the other law.
The law is the law.
Whether or not somebody obeys
There
it
are
is a
so
different
many
thing.
stupid laws in this state.
I agree with you.
You know, you can't make out in some parks in town. You get
And you
arrested
can't
for
sleep
that.
on the beach.
It's the law.
We're all gonna read the
Baloney.
law, we're all
Baloney.
gonna read the law, and we're gonna decide which laws
We're going to be.
we're gonna obey.
Now
and
you
That's
which
what the
ones
sound
town
not.
does.
Now
That's
you
what we're
sound
gonna
like
do.
a Democrat.
That's what the town does.
That's what a Democrat does.
That's what the towns do.
I don't agree with this law,
No.
so we're going to do it this
No.
way.
Should have paid the firemen from the get-go.
He,
Couldn't do it. There was no way to do it.
The town didn't want to.
They couldn't do it.
The town didn't want to.
They couldn't. That's
If the town
First
didn't
of all,
want-
John. First of all, that's not true. If that were true, then
Sam.
the town officials would not have
That's what I
gone
was
to
just
the
gonna
say. You can't
state
tell me
to
that-
try to get him paid.
You're
It's
one of
okay.
the most seasoned guys about town stuff.
Okay,
And you can't tell me who the policing agency for your payroll is. I don't think that one exists. I
you
think
need
you're
to see
gonna
if
pay this
everybody's
guy.
getting paid the way they should.
There's
Okay,
no
so we
policing
can
change the
agents, there's
question
no
if you
There
want.
policing
is.
agent.
You have a treasurer and you have an accountant, town accountant.
We
In the
get it.
school department, you got a business manager.
We get an independent audit once a year. There's all kinds of policing agencies involved.
And you hire an audit agency you liked from last year, so they
No,
can-
No.
that's not the way that works.
No,
Every other year,
no.
it's somebody different.
We
They look-
every
do
3
they get a
years,
bonus
we
if they
change.
find something?
No, we don't. No, we don't do that. We change auditors.
And if it wasn't for the auditor, it would, years ago.
John, we
you
are
would have
not the
found-
city of Lowell, okay?
That's right.
We're not the city of Lowell. We don't do
Here it
things
is.
that
You
way.
aren't blessed with all the federal funding we get.
All right? We go by the book. And sometimes people like it and sometimes they don't, but that's the way it is.
So there was, before we leave the data center thing, the other issue, and this was I didn't have the data issue in Georgia on my, apparently, because I'm going through
for
all
the,
I'm going through all the articles
the
looking for
AI
this.
Center?
Yeah, but,
They suck up a lot of juice.
well, yes, and by you making that statement, there were articles that was on Facebook why Europe's AI boom is running into a power problem, and why it's there's several of those. And
nuclear over there, though.
and part of what it is there's now towns that don't have enough power to run the towns
That's not
because the
good.
data centers are pulling so much power. So I'm not exactly sure who's trying to get all these data centers out there, but whoever it is really going to screw up the environment and a lot of other things. And what do they need them for? You know, they shouldn't need a 650 acre building to have stuff. So if anybody out there has any information, I would appreciate having you share that with us, whether you agree or disagree with the whole issue. So, like I said, that's something that is
Well, I
has
think
always disturbed me.
Even without the data centers, in certain parts of the country, we're already overextended on the electrical grid, okay? I mean, you have rolling brownouts in certain parts of the country. With
California.
With the existing infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Especially if it gets hot, when everybody
right.
puts on an air conditioner, and
And
then they tell you not to do
The
it.
problem largely is because the environmentalists won't allow, the natural resources to be developed and used for power generation. They shut down nuclear 40 years ago. 80% of the electricity generated in France is by nuclear. They don't have any problems. So they're doing something right, you know.
Well, then there's,
Yeah.
with China, they have the huge dam that has so much weight on it that it has slowed the access.
You're talking about hydro?
Yes,
Power.
hydroelectricity. Now what they're doing is now they're going to create another huge hydroelectric plant in China because they're trying to reduce the amount of coal. So what they're trying to do is use a natural resource so they don't have to buy coal from
Well, the
someplace else.
Chinese are developing their coal industry.
Well, I'm just saying what the article said,
Yeah.
and a lot of people wonder why there's maybe issues as far as climate goes. Well, if you have China doing all of this stuff that's slowing the access or doing types of stuff, and nobody really is reporting it or saying anything, that can affect the weather. That can affect an awful lot of other things, including what's going on as far as volcanic activity, because you're changing the dynamics of how everything's working. You create an imbalance, and it has to be balanced someplace else. So, we need to take a look at that. And I was talking to my sister about the El Nino and all the different things. There was another article on weather that came across that talked about the possibility that the way that this is shaping up may be competitive with what happened in 1877. Well, I didn't look to see what actually happened in 1877, but in the article, in the overview, it basically stated that it didn't mention this country, but it did mention Europe and Asia and Africa and things where it created tremendous drought. There was no food, there was no water, there was all kinds of things that happened. So not that you'd be in what they now call preppers, like everybody's trying to have, food and water and create different things in case we run out of stuff, which I find amusing with regard to that. But there are people out there that are actually trying to have food storage. But my grandmother had food storage because my grandmother in the city of Quincy had a garden. They had a small plot of land. She did up the tomatoes. She had her
That's what
grape
people-
baba.
that's what people
They
did,
had
right.
apple trees. They created all kinds of stuff. They had the root cellar, and so they had food during the year, during the winter months and stuff, because they stored the food from the rest of the year of the short growing season that Massachusetts had.
We had a garden, and my mother used to put up the vegetables in the mason jars.
Yes, well, I happen to
Right.
have like 3 gross mason jars because I've kept them from
Well,
all over
Evelyn,
the
we didn't
States.
have demosses back then, did we?
Yeah,
No,
we did.
and
But-
no, not in
well-
1877.
Well, when I was a kid in the
We had
50s,
A&P, that was it.
we had First National store, and
yeah.
and where I lived,
yeah.
we did have an A&P, and we had a First National store. Right, we had those two. But then there were little mom and pop grocery stores as well, and they would deliver the food to your house, which was a good deal. So
My grandmother thought, and my grandmother was 88 years old in 1965 when she died. I was 14. But she thought that grocery stores were a step back because she had to get to the grocery
Yeah.
store. She had to walk around and pick out what she
Right.
wanted.
all she had to do was pick up a phone and say, "I want this, that, and
Yes.
the other," and they would bring it to her.
But the other thing she also said was they would come around. The milkman would deliver milk.
Yep.
She didn't have to call them.
We had a milkman. Yep.
And also, my mother had one too. It was Windquist Dairy in Hingham, Mass. And he had pasteurized milk, where you had the quart bottle. I should bring one in. a
You don't-
quart bottle,
what-
and the top had the cream on
That's,
it.
that is, all milk is pasteurized. What you're talking about is non-homogenized milk.
Right, well,
Okay, so
it wasn't
the
raw either.
Non-homogen, no, it's pasteurized, because
Right.
it has to be by law, but non-homogenized milk
Yes,
is simply like you said, the milk without the
Separates.
cream
Yeah.
blended in. It sits
But
on the
even
top
with
of the bottle.
homogenized milk, if you leave it long enough in your refrigerator,
It will
some
separate. Yeah.
some cream will rise to the top.
And at that point,
'cause
you should probably throw it out.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
too long. Which we could talk about that
Right.
article that I had in terms of expiration dates. So there's certain things there that we'll get to. The all these nice little hints
The
that I
problem
like
with
to
the
have.
non-homogenized, and I can remember this when I was a kid because my father used to go crazy. They would leave the milk, and
Outside?
in the wintertime, no, we had like a sort of
We had an ice box.
we had an
mini ice
unheated
box.
we had an unheated vestibule like in the back of the house.
We had a little box, a
and
metal
the
box,
milkman would
insulated.
leave the thing, and in the wintertime, when it got cold, of course, the milk would partially freeze, and of course, as you know, liquids expand when they freeze, and it would push the cream up, and in those days,
Would pop the cap.
You probably remember this, the caps were made out of paper, you remember that?
Yes, cardboard.
And the cap would pop off, and my brother would come in with a knife, and he'd take the cream off
Yeah,
the top
I
of
loved
the
it.
milk, and my father would come down, "Where's my cream for the coffee?" And my brother used to get into trouble because he was taking the cream, and he never stopped doing it. My father, I mean, that was like 2 or 3 times a week. My father would be yelling
Oh, it
at my
tasted
brother,
really good.
"Do
But
not take that cream off the milk." And finally, my mother said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to order cream separately, so you'll have your cream." It took her a little while to figure that one out, but she finally did.
So when Windquist, these are all memories from when we was
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up. When Windquist finally started to deliver my mother's milk in Quincy from Hingham, the truck was not refrigerated. He
wow.
had huge chunks of ice on top of and around all the milk.
Yep.
So it melted. I mean, it dripped. The water. You had
Sure.
a water,
Especially in
with
the
it.
summer.
Yeah, and then after these were 2 older brothers. After they decided to retire, then Hood began to deliver the milk. And I think in some areas Hood still delivers milk. It just depends on where it is. But
Well, like you did in Quincy, we had a local dairy farm in Concord. Fred Jones was the dairy farmer, and he had his own milk processing plant in the center of town. And Hood also delivered, but if you weren't buying, I mean, it was practically against the law if you were a Concord resident not to buy Fred's milk because he was the local guy. And so most of the people we knew bought the local milk. But he went out of business in the early 60s, because it's not cost effective on a small scale to do that. And the larger companies like Hood, eventually they put the little guys out of business, which is too bad.
so the other thing that I recall,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody out there also does.
Front page to
There you
his
go.
little son, Chesford firefighter. So good for him.
Yep, she files the bill, but it was lobbied locally.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah.
So as far as the Hood thing goes, one of the things that I recall is cottage cheese.
Oh yes,
Okay, and
they used to deliver that. The milk people would deliver that.
so
Yeah.
there were some promos in order to get you to buy the cottage cheese, and
I love
their
cottage
cottage cheese sat in a flower pot, but the flower pot was made by McCoy.
I don't remember that.
I have some of them, and they weren't very big. So they wanted to promo it, so they had. It's kind of like when you went to gas stations in order to buy more gas, they'd give you a glass,
Right.
or at
Right.
one point they were giving out Anchor Hawking
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
types of glassware.
Yep.
All right, that wasn't cut; it was pressed glass, and then. Welch's grape jelly. They would have the small containers, and on the outside, you'd have all the different cartoon characters or Disney characters. And those have become collectible. I only have a few of all those different things. I like the McCoy pottery because I actually use it for the different houseplants that I have. And I have a very large one. But now those, if on the antique market, they run, $25 to $50 a piece. It just depends. I don't, if anybody wants them. I don't have that many of them, but I didn't pay anything for what I got. So there were different promos like that, and it's interesting, kind of like Carnival glass, right? Carnival glass was not just orange. It was blue, it was different things, and the reason they called it Carnival glass.
Is that worth anything
Yes,
as a collectible carnival
Yes.
glass?
yes, but it's got to be in good condition.
I have a relative that collects that.
I have pieces, but I have my grandmother's piece, but I don't know how much it's worth because it's got chips on it, but it's sentimental. And sometimes there was like roses carved in it, carved in quotes, and it was cut. There were some beautiful pieces, but what happened is if there was a carnival in town and you won something instead of like a teddy bear, they would give out the glass, and that's why it was called carnival glass, because you go to the carnivals. And there's a whole lot of different things people don't know about the history of why things were named the way they were. I'm not going to go through all of that this morning with anybody, but these things are popping up in this conversation, so I thought it might be of interest for people.
I wish I could remember the name of the author. I think the author's last name was Bryson. Wrote a book several years ago that I read, and you can look it up, Bryson. See if I'm right. I think I'm remembering this correctly. He wrote a book, and the book is
Last
about,
name or first name?
last name. He wrote a book about why things are called what they are, what you just said, and very, very interesting book. You can't find it?
Not under Bryson,
All
because
right,
there's too many Bryson.
I'm not remembering the name correctly. It was probably 25 years ago that I read it.
It's all right, I got some other ways to do this.
I'll have to think about it more and get that information. But very interesting book on why we call things, why things are named what they're named.
Who wrote?
And the thing that is striking is that a lot of it is logical, and based on environmental stuff, right? So.
Well, that's like all the
Interesting,
different
yeah.
phrases, like flash in the pan. Not that anybody uses that anymore.
That's
I
a
mean,
musket.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a gunpowder.
Right.
But there's other ones. There's a whole list of them. We don't have to go through them unless John remembers some.
Well, we're older than he is, so.
That's
Or
true.
I
Well,
am anyway.
I'm not that much older.
Yeah. So.
So,
So if you study a foreign language, most of the modern language.
When you're ready, Sam.
Okay. Will the media bring up the loss by Honda Company? It went all in on EV cars, and now is reporting a $9 billion loss. Yeah, that'll be on page 26.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
yeah, there's a whole thing. If
Although
anybody wants
if
to know
it's the
that.
sun, it'll be on page 8 because that's generally how far the sun goes these days.
I don't have the information you ask.
That Lowell sun has shrunk dramatically over the last 25 years. I think Jim Campanini retired at just about the right time.
Probably.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, there's all kinds of information on the internet with regard to the conversation.
I'll see if
of
I
what-
can. I'll see if I
Yeah.
can dig that up. I have the book, so probably if I go into my library, I'll be able to find it.
But we were talking about food. We're talking about, the names of things, and one of the when we're talking about food, they recalled a lot of snack food because of contamination with regard to the milk powder that was supplied by California dairies, and it's in brand name products.
What was wrong with the powder?
I think it's salmonella.
Ooh.
But it wasn't clear yet. Let me see if I can see where this.
That's nasty.
There was contamination concerns. Now that could be anything.
Yeah.
They said tainted, but they didn't define it. But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's Ghirardelli. We don't have Zappa, but it's online that you can buy chips.
Milk powder is an ingredient in a lot of different.
That's
things.
why this is a big
Right.
deal. And when I thought it was only Chicago, then I found other articles related to what they're recalling, and it's around the country. There's pork rinds and seasonings. There's fish, nuts, and trail mixes. I mean, there's a huge list. There's pita chips, Giant Eagle.
Well-
There's popcorn and seasoning, cheese curds.
There's
what
so
else?
much junk. I mean,
Frozen pizzas.
I know that,
But it's yummy junk.
well, that's true.
Well, it is unless you get
Well,
sick.
I think the real rule is if it tastes good, it's probably bad for you.
Well,
So are girls.
Yeah, that's true. But I know that Secretary Kennedy is a huge controversial person in the Trump cabinet, but I will say one thing, that I 100% agree with the guy when he talks about the way food is processed and adulterated in this country. And, you know, when I was a kid, everybody always said, you are what you eat. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that's true, you know, and I think that has a lot to do with the chemicals they put in food and have for the last 50, 60, well, even 100 years in some cases.
Well, the perfect
Uh,
example, though, of when you say, you know, what's in your food, is a lot of the cereals and the colors and things that in this
Right.
country, the same manufacturer puts them in for this country, but can't put them in for
Right.
Europe and
Exactly.
Australia or in all these other places.
They're a
So
lot
why
more
are they
strict.
doing it here?
That's a good question. And
Especially with the way the FDA is
They can make
on
more money.
everything.
because the FDA is a corrupt government organization.
Oh, I'm certainly sure,
All
because
right.
of what they do as far as cancer
And you know
research
why?
goes,
I'm not
too.
saying that everybody who works in the FDA is corrupt. But the
But-
problem is when you get organizations that are that large, that have budgets of billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, by nature, there's going to be an element of corruption. You can't escape it,
Though the
okay?
probability is in your favor of having problems.
Absolutely.
That's even like with the, you know, the federal
Absolutely.
government, you've got the same
It's-
type of situation.
It's too big.
So I don't know why people are surprised when you see fraud. It's just that there's a
It's
lot
too
of
big,
it, and they're
right.
finding even more of
Right,
it, which is
Oh, yeah.
unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. You know, I want to go back to the thing that John posted about the electric vehicles, because, you know, I'm kind of into vehicles. This is a case, again, and we're talking about government here. This is a case where we have government mandates to ultimately reduce the use of internal combustion engines, vehicles, and promote, force, okay, people to have electric vehicles. Now, I think electric vehicles are wonderful. I'm 100% in favor of electric vehicles. People want to buy them, they should buy them. I think it's great, okay? What I absolutely don't agree with is the government telling us that we don't have a choice. If electric vehicles are going to replace internal combustion engine vehicles, then let the marketplace sort that out, okay? Having said that, now you've got the thing that John posted. So the Honda people basically are trying to guess and stay ahead of the curve on supplying product to the market, which is cars. And they're reading the government mandates and so forth, and they made investments because they thought, because of the way the U.S. government was going, that eventually it would be mandated that everybody have an electric vehicle. They made all these, they made that investment. They started making the cars, and in some states, Massachusetts being one of them, by the way, dealers had been required to sell a percentage of their total volume in electric vehicles, as far as commercial sales.
I think hybrids was in that corral with them.
Yeah, and I think from a car guy standpoint, again, I think the truth is usually in the middle. I'm a big fan of hybrids, and I think that's probably the way to go, all right? But,
So a hybrid is a car that uses gasoline to make electricity to turn your tires.
and can run on both, too, okay? So a hybrid can run solely on electric, or it can run solely on gas, or it can run with both in tandem, okay? And John's right, when it is running on the gas, it does regenerate electricity in the vehicle. It's a very interesting technology. But the buying public in this country isn't ready yet to throw away their internal combustion engines.
There are reasons for that.
And there are reasons for that. And even some of my very left-wing friends who are climate people and all the rest of them, they're not buying electric vehicles. What does that tell you?
Are they buying hybrids?
Not necessarily.
Toyota's
the
safe.
majority of my political left friends are driving internal combustion engine vehicles, and two of them just bought brand new ones. Okay, so I don't even go there with them. I'd like to go and say,
This changes the topic. Can
Okay.
Conclude your thought, please.
You want to finish the thought on the cars?
My thought was that the electric vehicles are going to be okay if government steps back and we let the buying public or the marketplace make the choices as to what kind of vehicle they want to buy.
Yeah, rather than having
Right.
the federal government tell you
Exactly.
got to do this, that, and the other thing, because
Yeah.
where is your freedom of choice? I want to continue with the
Yeah.
car thing, but
Go ahead.
it's this just came in. Just because all this stuff is available doesn't mean you have to eat it. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
You still have a choice. Mom always made a lunch for us, and eating out was a treat, not an everyday thing.
Yes. Yes.
We can talk about that in a second. But
Absolutely.
on the car thing, there also is legislation, okay, picking up on this,
Federal or state? Or both?
federal,
Okay.
So as of May 2026, a bipartisan group of lawmakers in both the House and Senate have introduced legislation aiming to prohibit the sale of vehicles made in China being sold in this country. And the part of the
That's
reason
electric vehicles mainly, right?
it didn't say. So
okay.
it didn't say it's only those or it's something else. I would have to do more research on that. It listed, when I asked the question of my telephone, it listed who the lawmakers were, where they were from. The goals. The bill aims to protect national security by curbing potential data collection by the Chinese government through connected vehicles.
Yep.
They also intend to protect the United States auto industry from subsidized competition.
Yep.
And they want to codify it. Now, part of it is because with China, many of the cars that they have cameras. So they can take and surveil wherever those cars are being purchased from anybody. So now you're under surveillance. The other thing is if they can be controlled from afar. So if
Sure.
there's enough of them on the road,
It's a
they
computer.
could, this is like one of those movies that you may see, they could cut the power or they could cut any number of things through the vehicle so that you could jam up the highways. They could take over and drive the car depending upon what the software is that's
Well,
in
we
the car.
already have self-driving
Yes, but I'm
cars.
saying that they could do it from afar in order to drive it into a building or do any number of things to kill the drivers. Or just to take the car and it could then become a potential, we'll say bomb, simply because it may have gas. We don't know any of that stuff, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of stuff that's going on out there. There's a lot more transparency that we see with regard to these things being stated.
So hybrids, I know Toyota makes a ton of hybrids.
They do.
And I think America's going to the hybrid.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way to go. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. The truth is in the middle, right?
Somewhere, yes.
Yep.
Now, in the text that somebody had, it said that we didn't eat, when we were growing up, eating out every day was not a common occurrence.
Oh, God,
Part
no.
of it was the fact that you couldn't afford to
Couldn't
do
afford it. My
And the
parents
second-
couldn't afford to eat out.
And the second part of that is everybody was working, and
Yeah.
we were well, I wasn't necessarily, but I know that I had friends, they were in bed like at 8:30 every night. And if you went out to dinner by the time the father got home, you wouldn't be able to go get in bed by 8:30. It just didn't seem to work out, at least when I was growing up. So one of the things that my parents did was when my dad got paid, all right, so like say every other week, sometimes it was once a week, it just depended on their mood.
So when
We
your
would
dad,
go-
your dad got paid, okay, get over it. Doesn't mean sometimes twice a month, get to the point.
I was going to get to the point when you interrupted me. So we would go out to dinner to the Chinese restaurant, and they were limited with what they actually could order. My sister at the time did not like it. She was always asked, "What do you want to have?" She'd either say a bologna
that
sandwich
was-
or spaghetti.
Oh, a couple times a month you did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so that was when we were very young, and I don't remember. Maybe John would, because he frequents or has frequented McDonald's. I don't ever remember doing the McDonald's thing until I got to high school.
They didn't have the.
So And then
stuff.
Burger King came along, which I liked, but I don't particularly care for it right now, the way their food is, and I don't go to McDonald's very often anymore either. But there's a lot of fast food places out there, and part of it is because people don't have time to cook. And so, in some cases, people don't know how to cook. They don't even know how to boil water. So they're not making their coffee in the morning. They're in a hurry.
Yep.
They get it on the way to work. Everything is a matter of convenience.
And speed, and to the poster who posted that,
Food, when I was a kid, food was just provided. I just thought my mother made every meal that was out there.
yeah, right, exactly.
I had no idea where the food came from. I didn't care. They'd yell, Johnny, supper. Show up, eat what was ever on my plate, and I was gone.
Oh, I used to, when I was a small child, my mother, like 5 and 6, my mother used to take me to the shopping for the food, so I knew where the food came from mostly, but, I mean, from the store, but beyond that, I didn't know where it came
Well,
from.
see,
But-
I only knew where it came from,
You know.
Sam, because my father was brought up on a farm.
Yeah.
And when we would go out for a reunion every year, then he would tell us, see the fields, that's the corn, see those fields, that's the soybeans, there's the wheat fields, that's what makes the flour. I mean, we
Right.
had that even though my father wasn't necessarily into all the science stuff, but we did have some kind of background with
But
regard to
But
that.
you didn't know that as a 5-year-old kid.
Reminds me of a story. My wife was driving through charming Chelmsford with our youngest son, and he was about 5, and he saw a horse. And he said to his mother, "Oh, Mom, look at the big doggy."
That's not good.
That's a city kid.
That's not good.
That's a city kid.
Right, but like I said, since we
We should
went,
teach the city children what a horse looks like.
we were all raised on fill up and go,
Well, he
not
knows-
plug
he
it in
knows
and
now,
wait.
Sam.
Oh, cool,
Good.
I like this. The American consumer doesn't want to hang around for hours, and electric vehicles are not reliable if no infrastructure is in place.
There is an infrastructure in my place. My wife loves her car. She can do 330 miles.
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with electric vehicles. I think it's great technology, and I actually had my first ride in an electric car last summer. Can you believe it? I mean, you would have thought that I would have had a ride earlier than that, but last summer, my wife and I were in Boston, and we took an Uber, and the Uber car was a Tesla, all right? And so I got all excited, and I said, gee, first time in an electric car, and it was really nice. So of course, I'm asking the driver all kinds of questions, and I said, how often are you charging the vehicle? And he said, once a week. And I thought, wow, that's not too bad at all. And I said, well, can you explain that further? And he said, well, all my driving is, short hops and so forth. And he said, I'm not taking 300-mile trips where I have to stop. And he says, usually it's about every 5 days, he said, I have to plug it in. So I didn't think that was too bad. And of course, he does it at night, right? He goes home, he plugs the thing in, and he's in bed, and the vehicle gets charged up, and then he's all set to go in the morning. So
If
to
my
me,
wife- if my
those
wife's-
electric vehicles make perfect sense in the city. They make perfect. No, I think the technology is great, and if the demand is sufficient, which I think it will be to keep the industry going, then they're going to get better. I mean, the gating factor is the lithium-ion battery. That's
When
the
she
biggest
gets
problem.
down to 100 miles, she charges her car. If her car has 100 miles on it, she won't charge it. If it has 99, she'll charge it.
Well, you're not supposed to. The way lithium batteries are engineered, you're not supposed to top them off. So she's doing the right thing.
Well, she only charges to 80% unless she's going on a trip.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to top off. You're supposed to let the battery occasionally get down. They don't want you to let it go below, I think, 30% charge. But you're supposed to let the battery go down every so often and then bring it up. It's not good for the battery to be topping off at 90% all the time. It wears the battery out faster that way. But no, I think it's great. But let the American consumer make that choice. If people want electric cars, they're going to buy them. They're going to, and the manufacturers will follow suit. I mean, that's our system. That's our economic system. Not the government tells you what you have to make and what you have to buy and all the rest of it. That's not our system.
So there's
Yet.
there's some short articles that I saw. One was, which I thought was interesting. I've seen it before, but we haven't talked about it. We don't necessarily have to talk about it in any great detail right now. From the magazine Science Alert, or the website. And it talked about, since we're talking about food too, common sweetener may harm critical brain barrier, risking stroke, and there's different studies out there.
Which is the sweetener?
The sweetener is erythritol.
Never heard of it.
So it is a sweetener that I have noticed
It's
they
artificial
use.
sweetener.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They use in a lot of the keto recipes when they say no sugar, or no carbs, for whatever reason. So they sometimes will use that, and you can buy it.
In granular form?
Yeah, and so I have never done that because I look at it going, I'll just deal with the sugar. So I like to try to do the natural products versus all of this stuff that they have. But just so that people are aware, because I like to put different things out there, just so that if you're interested or you're using it, you're informed as to what the possible side effects might be. And this has to deal with strokes and a variety of other things. And as I've said before, the body can respond and recover from things that are organic, but it doesn't recover as well from things that are inorganic. The only reason I say that is way back, I think it was before I was on school committee and involved in a lot of the drug-free school stuff. There was a father whose daughter had a problem with ecstasy, and he had a mission that he wanted to let everybody know, and it filled the senior center. There was a panel discussion. I wasn't the only one that was involved in it. There was a lot of people involved in the organization of that. I was not part of the panel discussion. There were students up there. There was a wide range of things that it took a lot of people to organize it. And part of one of his things is with ecstasy, is that it's an inorganic substance, and the body can't recover from that. And I'm not promoting any kind of organic-based drug for people to take. I'm just saying that that's one of those things. That's why if you don't, like with alcohol usually is based on something organic.
Right.
I'm not advocating for any of this, by the way, because it's not good for you. But if you overdo it, if you stop doing that, at a certain point, you can recover from that. There are times we can get to the point of no return with cirrhosis, among other things. I'm just saying that it's not good for you, but depending upon what you do with it, it's
like cigarette smoking. I used to be a smoker, and the doctor told me, he said, and this was many, many years ago, so it could be that this has changed, but at the time I was told, if you stop smoking by the time you're 40, then your lungs will fully recover. And I forget what the time frame the doctor said, but if you stop by the time you're 40, your lungs will fully recover at some point as if you had never smoked. If you stop at 50, then, of course, it was always good to stop at any time, obviously. But if it was past 40, then you would not have a full lung recovery. That's what I was told at the time. Now, whether that is still true or not, I have no idea. But it convinced me to stop smoking at 40. It's when I stopped. So hopefully that is true. And I don't seem to have any lung or respiratory problems at age 79. So we're going to say that probably worked in my case anyway.
So a couple of other things before Vivian gets here. One was that the Senate, federal government, on Wednesday unanimously voted to advance a resolution sponsored by Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana to suspend senators' pay during a government shutdown.
Wonderful bill. It will not pass.
Well, they're thinking it may pass, but it's not going to pass before the midterms. The Senate voted 99-0 on the motion to end the debate on the resolution, and we'll see how it goes. And they want it to be like immediate, and.
I think that's great.
And I
love
think it's great because, but they're not, it isn't that they're not gonna get paid, they'll get back pay. It's just that they don't get
Right,
paid
it's
at the
deferred.
time. It's
Deferred
deferred. Yes.
compensation.
Then there was another article about a 103-year-old doctor, his 3 rules for,
103.
for a long, happy life. But it depends on a lot of factors. He died last year in December at 103. And he spent more than 75 years practicing. The first, and it's 3 things. One says, keep your mind engaged. Brain is like a muscle. You need to activate it. You need to keep it moving all the time. And if you don't use it, it weakens. I can see that in my mother at 105.
Oh, yeah.
Where when she was doing crossword puzzles and she was reading and she was listening to the news, she was up on all the events, maybe a little skewed with the opinions. However, she was able.
She was engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. She's engaged now. It's just that some of the topics are a little strange. So the other one was don't carry hatred. In other words, that's stress.
Oh, yeah.
If you can kind of rise above the stress is a really bad thing to your body. Take it from one who knows, because just the way that things go. But I'm not into anger and resentment. My stress is because I can't control everything and do things and help people the way it should. So you don't have to forget every wrong or excuse bad behavior, but the point is that in order to move forward and be healthier, you've got to be able to control that. And then enjoy everything in moderation. It doesn't mean you have to deny yourself every pleasure, but you just don't have to overdo it.
Right.
And we were talking about alcohol, and that's one of the things. And sometimes they talk about eating meat. I don't eat that much meat, maybe once a month. I would prefer to have fish. Unfortunately, I eat often a lot of chicken too. And I can fix it in all different ways. So, but having a good steak, that's fine. Takes your body a little bit longer to digest it, but
I always feel better after I've eaten red meat.
it could be because of the iron in it
Yeah,
too.
I think so. I think that's the answer.
Because I feel better if I take an iron pill, which I'm supposed to do like every other day. So that's 3 rules, which sound kind of interesting to me. And then you had there was another article, and this was from Northern Ireland, which they were very concerned about, where as I read the article, I realized that there were people outside abortion clinics, but they were not using the term abortion, and many of them weren't even saying anything. But this particular retired minister was out there just preaching the gospel according to what this article said. Not what he said necessarily, but the article. And he was arrested for doing that. And they're very concerned, not just there, but in Canada, as to freedom of speech.
Oh, it's a problem. A lot of these Western governments, like Canada and the European governments, are cracking down on speech and classifying various things as hate speech and so forth. And the address that the vice president gave several months ago when he was in Europe, I listened to that, and he was, in my opinion, he was spot on. I mean, he was absolutely 100% correct. They're trying to control what people can say. Censorship.
Well, they're trying to do that in this country.
Yes, but
big time.
But it does not have.
The lefties will keep it open.
It does not have the import of law.
How could the lefty give a finger to the cop without getting arrested?
Well,
That's never gonna go
That's
away.
a good question.
That's never gonna go away.
But in England, for example, you can be prosecuted for saying certain things, which in this country, the reaction probably would be negative, but at least you can't be arrested and prosecuted.
That's true.
That's the point I'm getting at. So over there, they've actually got laws in place. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't say this, and that's a problem. And there are people in this country that support that. They think that's a good idea, right? Oh.
Vivian Merrill.
Now it's vaping that has a grip on the public. The narrative is it's better than smoking.
Hey, the door should be open.
I don't think
Just lock
it
it.
is.
See if you can lock it.
From what I've read, anyway.
Thanks, bye.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not good for you either.
No,
So,
it's not a good thing.
but with regard to the pastor that got,
Yeah. What did he say? Did it say
well,
what
I
he
think
said?
I got
think
more
his
text, kids.
growing
Sorry,
up, I never had a kid in my class ever have a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
Right, no gluten, lactose intolerance, food allergies, when did these things become so prevalent in society? It's a question of whether or not it's some of the other chemicals that's in
Right.
the food
That's what
This
I
that
just
think.
has
came across
triggered
Facebook
things.
this morning. Raytheon's leaving Massachusetts.
Where's it going?
Virginia.
Well, that's not necessarily good.
No.
It's bad.
Not for Massachusetts, but for the people that I know.
Raytheon's in Tewksbury and Raytheon's all
everywhere.
over
They
the
were in
place.
Andover.
Sudbury. Yeah.
They used to be in Bedford. That was the first company my
Good
husband worked
company.
for.
Good company. Sorry, we're
Yes.
losing them. Morning, Viv.
One of my sons worked for Raytheon, was thinking about going back.
When you have an anti-business climate, that's what happens.
Well, also, I told Glenn we're gonna leave Massachusetts at some point.
I don't blame you.
We don't really have to leave it physically necessarily, but we can have residency and still own the house here like we do
Sure.
vice versa.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting. I spoke to my daughter-in-law's uncle yesterday. Her father passed away and they had the funeral yesterday. And he had said they live in Lowell and they have a place in Maine. So legally, they're in Massachusetts.
Primary residence is low.
Yes.
Okay.
But what they're going to do now is reverse it. And they're going to live in Maine and then come to Lowell.
Why are they keeping the Lowell property?
Probably because family's here.
Okay.
You got to be on the mic, Sam. You got to be on the mic.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Nobody wants to hear what I have to say anyway.
So why would
Everybody
you go, why
wants
would
to
you
hear
go to
what you have
Maine?
to say.
Sales taxes higher than Mass.
Maine?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You're right. And their food tax is higher too.
But these individuals are retiring. And so since they already have property in that particular state, that's where they're going.
We looked at moving to Maine, and we found out that my wife's retirement would be taxed, which it is not in Massachusetts.
But it's not taxed in New Hampshire either.
No, but it is in Maine.
Right.
It's
And Maine
subject
has
to
other
their-
issues.
So
and I'm
if
not
you're
going to Maine.
retired from Massachusetts, you have no tax on your.
If you were a public employee, yes. If you're a teacher or firefighter or something like that.
You can live in New Hampshire, no taxes.
Correct.
No wonder they all moved up there
But in Maine, you are taxed. Okay?
by the state of Maine.
Yes.
There was an article that I just briefly scanned, which in terms of who lives where, is that they said something like 190,000 people last year moved to New Hampshire,
Really?
something like that.
And
So I have to check
most of
the
them
accuracy
most of them
that.
probably came from Massachusetts, I would
No,
guess.
it did say it. They came from
Oh,
Massachusetts.
190,000 came from
Yeah.
Mass. Okay.
Maybe that's why they're having
Well,
water problems, is because they're
could
having
be.
so many people and they're building so many houses up there, and the
But people
water
don't-
table can't take it.
People can only tolerate so much. I mean, to me, I understand the tax environment, and I understand, people, and I support the federal system. I mean, if you want to live in a left-wing state, I think that's your right. That's fine. Okay, but don't make everybody else live that way. And that's the whole point of the federal system that we have. You have choices, okay?
Right, and the other piece to that, we could talk about New York
Yeah.
State briefly before, in the next minute.
Right.
Is that they wanted all the billionaires to leave, and because when the billionaires left, they took their tax dollars, now they all want them to come back. Now, why they would go back is beyond me, and then you have that company that's moving to Florida because of the amount of taxes that the mayor in New York City is going to put
Well,
on that company and on him, and they don't particularly care for it. And when you have Bernie Sanders basically saying how a greater job Mandami is doing in New York City,
No.
he really isn't.
He's a lunatic.
And what people don't seem to understand is when
Right.
the billionaires and the millionaires leave, where do the taxes go? They go on the middle class.
Are you familiar with the phrase, "Do not kill the goose that lays the golden egg"? Well, that's what they're doing, okay? I mean, and I saw something on Facebook the other day, and I just couldn't believe what I was reading. A very intelligent person
20
posted,
seconds.
well, Mandami has solved the fiscal crisis in New
Yeah,
York.
I saw that.
Yeah, and you know how he solved it? $8 billion is coming from the state. Well, what is that money? It's tax revenue. He hasn't solved anything. It's just moving money from one spot and putting it in
He didn't
another.
create anything new.
No,
He
it's
didn't
all
solve it.
taxes.
He
Right.
solved the problem by getting money someplace else.
It's
and throwing it at
ridiculous.
it.
We'll be back.
Yeah, but
Yep, so we're gonna take a
Yeah.
break. Don't go.
to get in my truck. It's
Here you go,
ridiculous.
kids.
Go.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Evelyn Thoren. I'm your host for the next 57 minutes or so. Sam Chase, excuse me, is my co-host. John McDonough is behind the camera. You can hear his voice. Sometimes he's on the camera. And Vivian Merrill is our guest this morning. Welcome back, Vivian.
Yes, she is, right in the middle.
Has worn many hats in Chelmsford, still wears several.
No hat today, though, I don't see.
No, that upsets John.
Yeah, wearing a hat.
Yeah, he didn't appreciate that.
Well, it causes shadow on your face, and you
There you
look
go.
much prettier without a hat.
Yes.
Aww.
So I was-
That'll motivate you.
Absolutely.
I was taping a show yesterday at Chelmsford Telemedia, and so we're getting set up, and Vilo, who was the producer, he comes down and he says, "Oh, we got to do something." I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "I'm getting this awful reflection off your forehead." So I said, "Well, I'll put on a hat, right?" I said, "That'll fix." "Oh, no, you can't do that." So I don't know. He did something with, I don't know what he did, but he did something with the lighting so that I wouldn't,
Wouldn't
Have a
shine.
beacon.
So,
Wouldn't shine.
Evelyn, what do we got
all right.
this week for a treat?
You have coconut Danish.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
There's cream cheese in the middle.
Beauteous, thank you.
There you go.
Organic eggs. All right, so that being stated.
Are there any other kind of eggs?
Yes. Organic eggs,
There are poisonous eggs.
it's defined as such because of either what they eat or the conditions under which
All
they're
right.
being
But I mean,
laid.
there's no such thing as,
An inorganic egg?
yeah, is there?
No, unless
Synthetic
it's an
eggs?
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
there
know.
are synthetic eggs and
Oh, okay.
artificial eggs.
All right. I don't know. I defer to your superior knowledge of food.
Well, that's chemistry, most
Right.
likely.
Yeah.
So we're not on this camera, but do we have any other comments coming in that we missed from the last hour, John?
No, you're up to date.
Good.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll start by talking about what you currently are doing.
What am I currently doing?
Well, first of all, you work. We're going to talk about that second.
You're
But
talking about town stuff.
We'll talk about town stuff because, we're on in Lowell, obviously, and everybody can see, at the bottom, Drake, Chelmsford, Lowell, Tewksbury, Tingsboro, and we're on Facebook. So if anybody's out there, you have some questions,
And YouTube.
and, okay, we're on YouTube,
you
so if you have any
we could
questions.
go viral.
You could, well, that depends on what we say. The telephone number that you can text to is 978-808-8200. If you have any questions for us or for Vivian, then you can certainly ask that. If you want to make some comments or subjects you'd like us to talk about or any number of things like that, that would be great. We also want to say this is not a scripted show, so whatever it is that happens, we're not reading any monitors out there. We have a somewhat of an agenda, but that's always very flexible. And our opinions are our own. Might be somebody else's opinions, but they're not the opinions of any of the telemedias that's in any of the communities. So we just want to make sure that people understand that.
In all my years of doing this, I have never once asked a telemedia employee, "What is your opinion?"
No, but they do have policies.
I understand.
Right, and so we
I'm
want to
making a
make
joke.
sure
So-
that they understand. We're not representing
I get
them
it.
in any way, shape, or
We're
form.
making this up as we go along.
That's pretty much the way it is.
That's the best way to say it. What you just said is, we're making it up as we go along. I love it.
So what committees are you currently taking minutes of or are on in Chelmsford?
The main one is Conservation Commission, got Historic District Commission, Parker Middle School Building Project, CPC when they meet, the capital planning at the end of the year, and permanent building when they don't conflict with conservation. And
6.
that's pretty much, yeah.
That's a lot.
Now,
It's a
let me
lot,
ask-
but a
let
lot
me-
of them don't meet that often,
Let
so
me
it's
ask you
okay.
a question. Some of our boards, I think Select Board and School Committee, have their notes taken by AI. Okay?
Yes,
So
that's what I've heard.
what is, since you're involved in the town and how this is done, so is there some sort of criteria that determines when it's appropriate for a board to have AI minutes versus an in-person stenographer? Are there any
I have
rules in
no
place
idea.
for that?
I have
Okay.
no
That's-
idea.
I don't either, that's why I asked.
They
So
just tell me where to
yeah.
go when I show up.
We need to find, I'm gonna find out what the requirements are. So
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
It's-
I think a lot of it is anybody willing to do the work.
Well, yeah,
'Cause
if you
when I
can't-
left the select board,
Yeah.
nobody wanted that
Nobody
committee.
wanted it.
It's a lot.
Well, school committee had their own recording secretary, and then they'd have like a tape, or you got the video that they could do it from home and any number of things. And when we had executive sessions, the secretary of the school committee took the minutes, because I took a lot of minutes. And over the years that I was there, because nobody ever wanted to do it, so I
Well, the
always ended
select
up doing
board
it.
did it because they were just, the executive session minutes, they just chose to do that on their own, so they did.
Well, they're
Well, we
supposed
chose
to.
to do it too.
They're supposed to, because in executive session,
Yeah, because there are rules.
technically,
Yeah.
the non-board member is not supposed to be there, okay? So that's it,
That's
but,
pretty much why we do it.
it's a problem. You're right, it's a problem to get people to do it, and then not everybody has the ability to do it. But it's a problem if you can't. Now, for example, I'm on the Board of Assessors, and I'm the chairman, and I take the minutes.
It's hard.
And it is very, very difficult to do, okay? Now, and the only reason I can do it is because I have had thousands of years' experience of taking notes and minutes, okay? I'm no smarter than anybody else. I'm sure there are plenty of people who could do it as well or better than I. But it's just difficulty, and they consider that when I had asked the town manager a long time ago, I mean, we need somebody to take notes. He says, you got people in the office there, the staff. He said, one of them can do it. And he's right, okay?
I mean, I think that's how planning
and-
board
yeah.
does it. Yeah.
And so going forward, we are training one of the assessor employee staff people to do it. And she's
Sam.
starting, yeah,
Being a minute taker for a long time,
yep.
there's no guidelines of what you have to write down. You can write down whatever you damn well
No,
please.
that's not true. The
Okay,
attorney,
tell me.
the Attorney General
What is-
has guidelines for what has to be included in public meeting minutes.
So
And,
there's
and,
rules.
but now I know exactly what he's gonna tell me. Who's gonna enforce it, right? But I'll tell you how it's enforced.
What color is their police car?
I'll tell you how it's enforced. It's enforced through the open meeting law, and hundreds of open meeting law complaints are filed every year against various boards and committees in the town when people think that the minutes aren't right or something is wrong. So that's the enforcement mechanism. But if you go up to the Attorney General's website, they have a whole section on how you're supposed to take minutes and, you know, the various components that are supposed to be included and so forth. So it is, they do give you that guideline. It shows you how you're supposed to do it, so, yep.
Good to know. Thank you,
Yep.
Sam.
And the other way that in executive session, that you would know what you put in there or you don't, is because you've got other members that will review it and make, because you always ask when you're going to make a motion to approve, if there are any objections, and some people will say, well, we need to change this, and you can do it as a friendly amendment, or then they can have another motion to do that, and then they.
Have grab that other mic, will you?
But you have to do that within the meeting. What I don't like, and people get away with this in some communities, I've seen it. You have a meeting, the minutes are taken, and 2 weeks later, now you're sitting in the next meeting, and the board members are reviewing the minutes, and one of the board members says, well, I don't like that. I want that changed.
I've been in one of those meetings.
Minutes are a record of what happened, not what you wish had happened, okay? And you can't do that. You
How
can't
can you
say,
prove you didn't make it up?
well, there you go. Well, of course,
I've been in these arguments, and what I do
Yeah.
is when I'm the minute maker, I audio tape the meetings. I tell them at the beginning, I'm recording this meeting so I can make better notes
and
after.
that's the best way to do
And
it.
then you get a crackpot, say, I didn't say that. And you play it back for him.
Right. Well, if you're on a major board,
And then he'll say, I didn't mean it.
well, too bad.
you said it.
Too bad. You said it, it's in the minute. So if you're on a major board, no problem, because these things are all televised. So you can always go back and check
It's the
that.
executive session that usually.
The executive sessions
discrepancies.
are,
Or if
you
you
know,
have workshops that are not televised, which has happened in my past. One of my very first
right,
meetings in 1998 was with the charter school. And I ended up being elected the school committee secretary.
So you took the minutes.
I took the minutes. It was extremely detailed. I had a little bit of pushback from the chair. Why is it so detailed? I said, well, considering the fact that this is the first meeting that we had, and we want to make sure that we document what it is that's going on between the two committees and the two boards that were meeting, I said, I thought that we should have far more detail than we normally would, and that was fine. It was a logical answer. And I said, if there's any specifics that I have misunderstood, then we can correct those, but there wasn't. Everything was fine. But it was a little bit of pushback, but again,
yeah.
it was a fine situation. But in many cases, you wanted to do that, and then in some cases, which now this has changed for executive session. We used to do it when we had like union negotiations and things, is that you kind of hit the highlight, but you don't go into the detail. And now they want you to go more into the detail. They don't. They want it so that when you read it, you knew you were there.
Right.
It wasn't like, this is just the topics you talked about. They want more information. So that has changed.
And anything that relates to a supporting document technically is supposed to be made part of the permanent record. And that's something that a lot of committees don't do very well. I've followed up on that, but I just want to say, because we have Vivian here. Now, when I was on the select board 20 years ago or so, Vivian was our stenographer, and she just did a bang-up job. And you talk about the two extremes. You could make a stenographic record, which is basically verbatim what was said.
Which is way too hard.
Or you
Lot of
can
paper.
have minutes that are totally insufficient, and lacking. And the thing with Vivian, I always found, was she got it, I always say the truth is in the middle, right? Vivian got it perfect between the two extremes. You had enough detail so that you knew exactly what had generally been said and happened, but you didn't have a verbatim
I mean, the
transcript.
hardest thing was trying to figure out what
Exactly.
the message was if you don't even understand what they're talking about.
That's very, very, but you always got it.
Oh, thank you.
And when she didn't, on the rare occasion, she would ask, she'd stop and say, don't really understand that, can we go over that? And that's an excellent minute taker. I would say the most complete records we have in Chelmsford are the Finance Committee minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And that is
I've read
almost a stenographic record. I mean, a typical finance committee meeting that lasts an hour and a half or 2 hours, you get 9-10 pages of minutes.
Yeah.
And she is excruciatingly detailed, but I make an exception for FinCom. I think for FinCom,
Yeah, because it's a financial
for
record.
FinCom, that's appropriate, okay, to do that. And, but most of our minutes in Chelmsford are well done, but you always did an outstanding job, and
Thank you.
when you left, I was very unhappy.
No.
You know, so that was,
They've come back.
yeah.
So,
But the AI isn't too bad. I mean, it does okay.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. I
does
mean,
okay.
to me, it's like some of the meetings that are recorded, it's a
Yeah.
fine line on how much detail you really need.
Right.
Because you got the recording you can watch, but.
yeah, it's those executive sessions that make it a little bit
And
more
the, and the
challenging.
lesser boards that are not
That are not
televised.
recorded, yeah.
Right.
Well, the Arts and Technology Education Fund isn't recorded. We do have a secretary, a member of the committee who volunteered to be the secretary.
Oh, that's great.
And so she does an excellent job of taking the minutes and getting them out to everybody and making sure the motions are there and that. And it's not, she's not recording it.
It's an art, because it's like you gotta figure out what the committee's actually looking for.
Right, and that's Carrie Meikle. So she does that. And then lately, we've had some other members step up to the plate and do some other work. We had, in ATEF, we had 5 awards at about $4,400 this year. So they will be presented at the Select Board on June 1st, just in case anybody wants to know. So,
It'll be the first select board meeting without Mr. Collins.
that's correct. I knew that. We'll see how it, like I said, we'll see how it all goes. I have some lists and things that I have to do, because being chair, you got stuff to do too, besides
I
just
think John
doing
will do a
minute.
good job.
I'm not worried.
Oh, no, he'll be fine.
I'm not
Yeah.
worried at
He'll
all
be fine.
with regard to that. So we'll see how everything else goes with him, because he's also on the planning board.
Yes.
So he is now wearing 3 hats.
Yep. Oh,
And
he's on a
capital
bunch
plan,
of different
and
boards.
capital planning. He's
Yeah.
on capital planning.
And he's doing the Parker School thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that's because he's town treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to have him on those particular boards. How is the Parker Middle School building committee, how is all of their progress going from, since you're when you take the minutes, it's like you know everything that's going on, because you can remember it and recall it. So how's
That's
it
an
going?
interesting committee, because I will do the minutes and then the consultant reviews it, and they add a lot more detail than I think is necessary, but they're like, this is what the MSBA is looking for. It's like, okay. But, yeah, I mean, they're going through the process. It's been a very expensive process, with all the consultants they've hired and all the site issues they've come across and things like that. They've decided that they're definitely going to build a new building. It's going to house grades 4 to 6. It's going to be a 3-story building with like
So
one
they have
grade
decided,
on
they have
each.
decided on the grade
Yeah,
configuration,
Yep.
okay, all right,
It's-
that's
yeah.
interesting.
and now they're moving forward with like schematic design concepts and things like that. And we meet again next week. Yeah,
And is it
21st?
is it going to
20th?
be on the
next
Parker?
Thursday, I think.
Is it gonna be on the
21st.
Parker site?
Yes,
So they will,
They'll take the fields.
they'll take over some of the field, they'll build a
Right.
new facility, they'll leave the current facility in place to house the kids while they're building?
exactly,
And
because
then
it'll
at
be
some,
like
and
very
then
right
they'll,
next to it.
they'll
Yeah,
take down the old building and convert that into fields.
and not really fields, more like well, there'll be some open space there because
Okay.
you got that stream that runs through the building
Yeah,
over
well, yeah,
there.
it's- they got
So they do
wetlands,
have
right.
to like
but on the other side, it's
reconstruct
big
the
enough for a
wetlands
field.
and
When they took the
they
trees down.
they're gonna need to figure out
Excuse me.
parking over there, because I mean, my interpretation of the design is they don't have enough room for parking, but that might just be me not knowing what I'm talking about.
Well, I haven't looked at it, and Jay was on, but he didn't go into details, but I told him you need to come back more often, just so
Yeah.
that there's more information out there for the general public in Chelmsford, of what they're going to do. But, the concern that I had with with the location is the groundwater level. And I think finally he has said he's aware of it, whether he is or he isn't.
There is an open public forum thing happening in the 3rd week of June, so people that
For
have
public input?
questions.
Well, see,
yeah.
that's why they
Yeah.
want the schematics by that point in time and,
Yeah,
and where
and
everything
they've
would
got
be.
like some 3D model things that they show
Oh, yeah,
you
well,
and
we're
stuff
paying
like
for that.
And
But if they have parking sort of where the parking is now,
mhm.
and modify that, take the portable classrooms down that are falling apart, and then raise the school, yeah, you keep the stream, but on the other side, there's room on the other side for a field. So
Okay.
we'll have to wait and see how that works. And then in the front, as you come in the front entrance of the school off of Graniteville, you'd be able, there may be area in there, either for parking or something else. So we'll see how that works. I thought it was excellent, you're not on this particular committee, but I thought it was great when they put extra parking in front of McCarthy. It's something that we always tried to do and was told, well, you can't do it because you need so much green space. So I really, really appreciate having that happen. And then.
Yeah, they did a lot of revisions of Byam too, where they made more parking.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
And
so
that
that
was something,
worked
because
out
my
well.
kids
Yeah,
went to
parking
buy
is
it, there was
always
always
an
issues
issue
out
with
there.
Byam, right.
And then they're gonna do some more repaving
And
that's
they're
out
parking
there.
at your front
One
yard.
at a time, kids.
And so anyway, anything new on conservation?
They've got a bunch of hearings that keep getting continued because people are working with peer reviewers and trying to work on stormwater issues and things of that nature. I guess the Board of Health recently did like a gap analysis report that kind of involved the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, so they had a joint meeting to look at the report and figure out ways they can all work together, because they don't have overlapping things that they deal with, but they have complementary things that
Right.
all of them deal with, and they really do need to coordinate better, because people were kind of tailoring their presentations depending on what board they were in front of,
That's
and
not good.
sometimes it created problems. So they're trying to, work on a long-term solution for that.
I'll tell you something interesting about conservation real quick. Dave McLaughlin is back on conservation.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And this is a fellow that we actually honored him 2 years ago in the Chelmsford 4th of July parade. He was the Grand Marshal, okay?
Yep.
And Dave is in his early 80s, I think.
Probably,
And I think he served 35 or 36 years
yeah.
on conservation and was chair for a good portion of that. And then he took a breather a few years ago, and now he's
Yeah.
just been reappointed. I think that's wonderful. I mean, talk about
And he fell right back into it.
oh, I'm sure,
he-
and talk about institutional knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's a wealth of knowledge. So it's a good thing.
Between
He's-
him and Peter Spawn.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know,
There's
So
a
those are
lot-
committees I'd love
Yeah.
to be on. I just can't give the time for any of that.
conservation very
Got
important.
too many outside commitments
Yeah.
and family commitments, I should say. So, the big thing, is there anything else on any of the other committees?
The ones that I work on, not
Yeah.
really. A lot of them haven't met, or they haven't met recently, and,
You're
I mean,
going
the
into
fire
summer
station
season.
project's coming along. I think those buildings are gonna be coming down soon.
Yes, and they're gonna, there's groundbreaking next week.
Okay,
I think one is the 21st. I thought something was happening Monday, so I have to check my schedule.
We just had, and I don't know that we've ever done this before, but we just had decommissioning ceremonies for
Yeah.
both of those.
I don't remember that.
No,
for
I don't
the-
think we've
for
ever
any
done
of
that.
them.
No.
But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means we didn't remember it.
well, you were invited.
Or it wasn't promoted.
Right, but this
Yeah,
is
it
being
wasn't
promoted.
Yeah. it
And,
was-
and because we talk
Interesting.
about it more often, with the different committees that I'm on, maybe, and you're aware of it more because of finance committee, maybe that's one of the reasons that we're remembering some of the stuff that we do because we're actually firsthand involved in that. But anyway, so Vivian, your job is insurance,
Yes.
okay.
And
I
it's
know,
Evelyn's favorite part of the show.
Well, it's your favorite topic, John. We know that.
Okay, there's a toucher truck coming up in Tewksbury. If you've got a little kiddo that likes to look at big industrial equipment, and the annual toucher truck day from Mass DOT is May 16th. That's coming up this Saturday, 10 to 2 p.m. The rain date is 5:30, meaning May 30th. A lot of fun for little kiddos there, and the address for Tewksbury is 20 Clark. I don't know why it says Clark Relocation. It's across from Market Basket at the Stadium Plaza. They have a big facility there, and take your kiddo over there. I think your kiddo would enjoy it. Okay, Sam Mees is having a party, and he's having a party, I think tonight? No, Friday. Friday, May 15th, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Saigon Sandwich House, 507 Dutton Street. Hope you can make it over there. That's a party for Sam Mead. He's running for state senate. I know John Drinkwater's having a party. That's early June. We'll talk about that next week. And if you want to go to lunch today at the Senior Center in Lowell, it's $2. If you don't have the $2, it's free. Today's the 14th. So they have chicken parm with pasta. That's it, Ev. Back to you.
well, the other thing also is if people want to, if you're doing spring cleaning, or you're going to try to figure out how to get rid of old pots and pans, or whatever you might be doing, you want to take a look at the Wish Project that's in North Chelmsford on Middlesex Street to see whether or not some of the items that you maybe have, that you would be able to donate those to that
I
particular
wonder how much
project.
stuff they actually throw away.
I don't know. I
Depends on what they
was
get.
helping
Because
someone.
my old pot and pan, it's already got the Teflon stuff kind of scraped off it. And
Well, that should be going in the trash.
oh,
I
wait a
didn't
second,
give those.
Why?
So
Somebody's
I
going-
took, I had, I was helping a friend clean out a house. And so all the Teflon pans and everything, I have a metal guy that comes up to the lake. So anything that was metal that I knew that was not safe or didn't quite look right, that went up there. And so those did not go to Wish. But what went to Wish was the other pots and pans that were stainless steel
I
with
would
the lids.
just send it right to the trash can.
Well, I'm talking about something that would be useful. Even Revereware.
Even
Revereware
if it's
has come
useful,
back.
it's going to the trash can.
So, well, that's your solution. It's not mine. So, and I had mismatched flatware. You know,
Oh.
the
Horrible,
forks, knives.
mismatched flatware. My God, we better do
There's a
something
junk in
about
your
that pretty
trunk thing
quickly.
Hands
happening
on the-
this
Yeah, but I don't
weekend,
need
too.
that. So I
Thickness
brought
of
all
it.
of that to Wish
Yeah.
also
Horror,
because they make
horrors, mismatched
they
flatware.
make up the sets for people out of what everybody donates. If you have towels, you have kitchen towels, you have sheets that would be like twin size sheets or doubles or queens, label them, make sure they're clean. You can donate stuff like that too, but they have a whole list. And then if you don't want to give it to that, remember that animal shelters will take towels, especially if you have their holes or there's other stuff in, and they'll take sheets. So, and flat blankets, not quilts. So there's a lot of areas where you can actually donate things and maybe feel good about it. That's out there besides just shipping stuff off to
If it
Savers.
still has utility.
You got St. Vincent de Paul down on
Oh, there's a lot of
Street
places.
too, yeah.
I happen to like to drop the stuff at Wish. And then and clothing that is gently used. You know, they're looking always for shoes and sneakers, but they are limited. So if you have winter coats, they don't take winter coats, but
Really?
they might take light jackets because
Why
it's
wouldn't they take winter coats?
they don't have a place to store them because it's going to be summertime and they don't use winter coats in
Okay.
the summer.
I know places like St. Anne's down in Billerica, what they can't sell, they have like 5 or 6 different outlets that they redonate stuff
So are you
to,
saying they take winter coats in fall?
What did you just say?
Oh.
They take winter coats at St. Paul's?
St. Vincent de Paul
Are you
would take 'em.
saying they would take winter coats in fall?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
No.
Yes, there's also Anton Cleaners that's in Chelmsford, and they begin to take winter coats in October. I looked that up because I have so many winter coats to get rid of in this particular venture I'm involved with. They will take them, but it's not, they don't start till October. They clean them and then they're able to distribute them.
Never
Then
would
I
have
asked the
occurred to me that they wouldn't take it at any time, but I guess they don't. So now
Right,
I've learned
and then,
something.
There you
well,
go.
a lot of places don't have the storage facilities because people
Well,
get rid of a lot of
Lowell
volume.
Fire Department, I think his name's Larry Flynn,
Yes, you've had him on the show here.
and he does a thing in honor of his mother. He's got a big family, and they collect a lot of coats for kids.
Well, I would like to know from you after the show if we can get a hold of him as far as the winter coats goes, if he's collecting them year round, because then I can let the other individual
I'll send you a text.
that owns this property to be able to then distribute the coats accordingly. She just doesn't want to put them in someplace that's just going to put them out for per pound. Because of the time frame that's out there. So I find that something that I like to do and we also have the book sales that's in Chelmsford, and there are other libraries that's out there in communities that also will have book sales. So if you're getting rid of books, certain magazines, you have to ask them what they might be, like for instance the National Geographic magazines. And like Life magazines and Look and all this other stuff. There's a lot of times they will do those. So I don't think they always take encyclopedias, but there are a lot of places that will take used books, old books, any number of things along those lines. So there's a lot of places that you can recycle things that may benefit someone else financially, or if small blankets. And then sometimes there's like Mother's Day events, Valentine's Day events, Christmas events. Everybody's got a tree where, you can donate, you take something a name off the tree and you buy it and wrap it and put it on there. So there's a lot of opportunity that is out there for people.
Evelyn, I
to
just
do
sent
that.
you Larry Finn's cell phone number.
Thank you.
So Vivian, let's talk about the 2 committees that you have stepped down from. And I found this out yesterday, that you are stepping away, and I guess I knew about the holiday prelude, so you're stepping away from that, but I did not know that you were stepping away from your role on the dog
The
advisory.
Dog Park Advisory Committee, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as far as the holiday prelude is concerned, so you, for how many years, and you and Eric both were on that, right?
I want to say it was probably at least 12.
12 years.
Yeah, at least. My kids
And-
were little. It was a
and-
long time.
It's, and you were responsible for decorating, whatever that
The
means.
committee did, yeah.
The committee in the Chelmsford Center and other parts of town for the Christmas and holiday season. So,
Yeah, I mean, for the event itself,
and-
the tree lighting
and
event, we did
that's the thing.
activities.
the holiday prelude is a program of events,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Deb Taverna's got the helm now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she is looking for help, so if
Okay.
anybody wants to get involved with that event, call Deb Taverna, because, there's like 2 other people on that committee right now, and she'll take all hands on deck. 'cause
Just as
this
an
is her first
observer
year.
for the last however many years, it seems to me that that is an awful lot of work, doing
There you are.
that.
Yeah,
that,
oh,
right?
God.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
so you typically would have, how many people are you supposed to have on
It
that?
depends. I mean, there's no set number. I mean,
So-
back in the day when Colleen Stansfield and Trish Juris and all them were running it, there was probably about 6 or 7 of us.
Okay.
And over
So
the
you'll
years,
take-
it varies.
It's like the parade committee.
Yeah.
All comers are welcome.
Absolutely.
Right,
If you
okay.
got an idea or you got,
Yep.
we've had people that, have groups they're trying to support and they want to do something at the event. Pretty much, you're welcome to try it and see how it goes and see if you like it. Absolutely.
It's good. It's very, and I think many people in town, if that were to go away, I think many people would miss it.
Yeah.
It's like anything else, and I'm not saying people are mean-spirited about it or
No.
anything, but, you live in town, you have these events, and you participate by going, but you really don't have an idea of all of the logistics and planning and
It
so
takes a
forth
lot of
behind it.
people to
And these folks,
coordinate it.
and these folks are all volunteers to do this. And I think if these things go away, you've lost something. The town has lost some of its character. I know, for example, a parade committee, now this is our 250th year, so we're trying to do a bang-up job on this one. But after this year, a number of the folks on a parade committee that have been involved for over 20 years are going to be stepping away. And I can tell you, as a relatively new member of the parade committee, I've done it now for 4 years. Boy, when those folks step away,
It's going to be tough to
it's
replace
going
them.
to be tough. And the institutional knowledge that vanishes with those
Well,
people.
hopefully they write it all down for you.
Well, they are. That's
Yeah.
we're doing that now. And we've talked about that to make sure that the high level stuff anyway is documented. So it's a problem. Now, what about the dog
The Dog Park Advisory Committee,
as distinct from
the Chelmsford Dog Association.
right? So those
Yeah.
are 2 groups, but you're on, and that advisory committee is appointed by the town manager.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's
Whereas
going?
the other committee, is that like a private
They're like a
committee?
private
Yeah.
503C.
So
Yeah.
tell us about, you're stepping away from that, but tell us about that situation.
Basically, once I let them know that I am stepping away, nobody really wanted to come forward to take over. I mean, everybody else just resigned because they're like, you know what? The park is built, it's well managed, it's
Okay.
well run. The big decisions have been made, and I think our mission is accomplished. There's really not much significant stuff that we can add to that park.
So it's likely that that committee will be dissolved at some point.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. In
Good.
fact, the town has already rewritten the memo of understanding with the Chelmsford Dog Association so that they will be reporting directly to somebody over there. I'm assuming it's the town manager's office. And the DPW has been fundamental. We're doing a lot of the detail work over there anyway, so I think they will, be able to step in and do what needs to be done. And
Good.
like I said, I think the mission's accomplished. We did what we said we were gonna do. The park is built. People love it. And
It's heavily used, too.
I think it's gonna be okay.
Well, that's good. So
But-
you have the other hat, as far as professionally, you are an insurance agent.
Yes.
And what does it take to become an insurance agent? I know, first of all, you gotta get a job, but I mean, there must be certain
There's
qualifications.
licensing and continuing education requirements and,
Well, do you get
Yeah.
a degree to become an insurance agent, or
No.
is anything recommended with requirements to that if somebody's looking to get a job?
I think a lot of people get into it on a low level and then do the more formal like the formal stuff to get their license. And then there's a state association out there that has classes that you can take to tell you how to run an agency, tell you how to do your job. A lot of carriers, once you're signed on with them, they have a lot of educational opportunities because they want to see you prosper too.
So you actually have to be licensed by the state
Yes,
as a insurance agent practitioner,
yeah.
and
a
you have to meet,
producer,
and
yeah.
then the state, across the board for any of these licensing situations,
Mhm.
generally have continuing education requirements in order to
Yes.
keep the thing in force and so on and so forth. So, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you got the marketing aspects
Yep.
where you're learning what your carriers offer, how you can tailor fit that, and you've got different markets that you just, based on your situation, you can pursue.
And things change, so you gotta keep up with it.
You do.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, and the state associations help with that a lot, getting the word out and things like that, so, yeah.
Now, each one of the carriers that you have, because there's an awful lot of carriers, do you have any idea how many carriers are out there?
Nationally or just in Massachusetts? 'Cause-
Whatever number you'd like to give me
I
for
don't know,
whatever.
I mean, there's a lot of carriers out there that don't write in Massachusetts. Off the top of my head, I don't know where Massachusetts is right now. They were at 30 at one point, and then they went down to 20, and that's when they realized they had to do something with how the rates were structured and how the Division of Insurance was actually doing things, because they needed to attract more companies.
So what you're telling me, and somebody, I'm basically
look.
ignorant on this subject, okay, so I'm gonna ask questions.
That's why I'm asking.
So what I'm hearing from you is that the situation relative to the ability of an insurance company to write in a state, that the states regulate that, and it can be different from one state versus another.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know that's true on car insurance and always has been, but it's
Yeah.
also true in everything else?
Yeah,
Okay.
life, health, accident,
Mhm.
workers' comp, everything, yeah.
Everything. So it's maybe
Not all
diff-
companies want to be in all states.
Right, well, I know over the years, the car thing has always been a problem
Yeah.
for getting companies to write policies, because I think this is correct, in Massachusetts, you are required to carry insurance, which in some states you're not.
Right.
Right, okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
And, some of the states that do require you to carry insurance are actually raising the minimum limits because things are just so expensive. You
Right.
can't get out of an emergency room for less than $3,000 these days.
Right, general inflation.
If you've got 25,000 in bodily injury, you're gonna go through that really fast if
Yep.
you're significantly injured.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of red tape situations in there, there's a lot of administrative expenses worked in there. You've got the fraud aspect and the legal abuse aspect, and there's just a lot of things that figure into the rates that, the day-to-day person doesn't even think about, especially if you've never had an accident. So,
And the consumer pays for it all. I mean,
unfortunately, we all do.
I've always told people there's no such thing as a corporate expense,
Yeah.
because the end user of the product pays for everything.
And that's the basic concept of insurance.
Right.
You're pooling the resources of many to take care of the claims of the few.
They also have the biggest buildings in the city. There are over 500 licensed property and casualty insurance companies operating in Massachusetts.
500 different companies.
And then it says 516 companies are licensed to write property and casualty insurance in the Commonwealth. Over 1,500 total licensed domestic and foreign insurers operating across various lines
In the country?
in
Oh, in
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Because I was specific with the question.
Mm-hmm.
And then it tells what the major health insurance is, which is not what you're doing.
No.
And then the major players in the auto and homeowners market include MapFire, Liberty Mutual, Safety Group, as shown in an agency checklist, which you can look up if anybody is interested in the details. That's a lot.
I did not realize there was that many.
Yeah, well, that's what that says. But that 500, I don't know. I didn't ask how many agents there are, but there are,
There's probably thousands.
Okay,
Yes.
I would think so,
Yeah.
that many,
Yeah, because that's
so I asked that question. Let's see what this
one.
one says. So in 2022 and 2023, there were 2,055 insurance companies licensed, authorized, or eligible to transact business in the Commonwealth, including, but this includes all of them, life, health, property, casualty, and maintenance. So that's all of them. So I thought that's an interesting piece
That's
of
a lot higher
trivia.
than I thought.
So from a pricing standpoint, I mean, when you have that many carriers and so forth, from a pricing standpoint, do you feel it's reasonably competitive?
They have to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you have that many, if
yeah.
you only had one company, they could set their own
Right.
rates,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are agreeing on
And it's
a lot of the
regulated too, I mean,
deductibles.
you've got Massachusetts
You get statutes, don't you?
that regulate the pricing level.
Yeah, it's a lot, it's a lot wider in variance now that you have competition in there, because
Well, that's good.
they're letting the carriers kind of fight it out amongst
Well,
themselves.
that's the way
and-
it should be,
I
that's
mean,
good.
I think the
Yeah.
general consensus among carriers is like, we don't wanna be the cheapest in the market. We don't wanna write everybody,
No,
because then you don't get a decent mix of,
Yep.
of risk, really.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So because we have so many vehicles, we do bundle them with the homeowners insurance?
You do what?
Bundle them.
Yeah,
So
you
what you
bundle
can do is,
them.
with
Right.
one carrier, like safety insurance.
Yeah, we do the
I can
same.
have house insurance and I can have auto insurance, and then you save money with regard to that, depending upon, of course, how many of everything you've got.
If you don't have any accidents, your rate's quite a bit lower.
Yes, and then in terms of car accidents, what is the trigger for canceling your car insurance in Massachusetts?
It varies. It really does vary, because I've
Well, it's
had
not the first
policies that have
accident.
had 5 claims in 3 years, and they're still kicking, and then I got other ones that they've got 1 or 2, and they're gone.
Is it the amount of the claim, or what type of claim it is, or if the
I-
person is cited?
I think it's the mood of the actuary, to be honest with you, because there really is no
Jeez.
hard and fast rule.
Honest answer,
You know?
honest answer, yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been asked that myself, because I just had a lady that got non-renewed because she had 5 glass claims in 3 years and 1 accident.
To
And
me,
it's
it
like,
would be
well,
if I
that's a
were,
lot.
yeah, if I were reviewing it, and again, I'm ignorant on this subject, but just from a high-level logical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
I think if I were reviewing it, I would be interested in the degree of negligence or fault. So
Yeah.
if a
I mean,
person
glass
has,
claims, it's really not your
Yeah.
fault. You have no control over
Right.
that.
Yeah, but
So
sometimes
that's-
that's counted,
You know?
because
Right.
it was with somebody I knew, and it wasn't their fault that the
but if
glass
you have a
broke.
habitually bad driver that causes accidents
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody that is a victim,
Hmm.
I would certainly take that into consideration, you know.
And
But-
I guess they do to some degree, but like I said, I got a couple of policies that these people are having claims every other year consistently,
And
and
they're
they're
still-
still kicking. You know, so
This
I,
is amazing.
who am I to question it?
So it
Not
would
me.
also
But
depend
their
on how many
premiums
drivers
would
you
go
got.
up, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and then there's that point thing that they stuck on there years ago. But if you have, like, say, more than 1 or 2 drivers in your household, that increases the probability you're going to have more claims. So if you're working with the same insurance company and you own all those vehicles or you own them all in conjunction with somebody else, it could come back to haunt you because they're looking at you saying, well, you've got 5 vehicles and you've had five different things over the past 3 years, except that you're not the one that's causing it. It could be everybody else, but you're
Right.
still the one that's held responsible because your name's on or the primary name on the
And who
deed.
paid out?
Yeah.
You know, even if you're able to subrogate, I mean, you're still
Right.
creating a claim, and it still counts,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Which,
You know?
so it's not always what some people would call fair.
So here's a question. So I have a daughter who lives in Washington DC, and she comes up a couple times a year to visit us. And she is not listed as a driver on our cars, but if she drives our car on a casual basis, is she covered or is she not covered?
Generally, she would be covered.
She would. What's the
Yeah.
criteria for that? I mean, in other words, if she
I mean,
came,
she's out of state and she has her own policy in DC, right?
yes.
There you go. She's gonna be deferred anyway.
Oh, okay.
So even if you wanna list her,
Yeah.
she's not gonna cost you anything, because anything happens to her up here, it's gonna haunt her back in
All
DC.
right, I didn't
Yeah,
think
it goes
about
back to the
that.
original policy, because when we
Yeah.
That
had,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
we had a friend that would fly up because they had a business up here, but they'd use one of our vehicles. So I contacted the insurance company, and they said, as long as they carry the 100, 300 on their insurance policy of their primary residence, you're fine.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
that
So
you
they
could
go
do
back
that.
to the person's, yeah, that makes, I don't know
Now,
why.
what about
yeah.
house insurance? Now, house insurance can be written any number of ways in terms of occupancy.
True.
So, if you have a single person that owns the condo, the apartment, the house, and the house insurance is written for sole occupancy, they can't then rent rooms. And what about having long-term guests?
Depends on the company, because a lot of people are doing the Airbnb thing, and a lot of people were doing the rent-a-room thing, and it depends on the carrier.
If you let them know.
Yeah, you gotta ask them, and, I mean, the policy itself excludes the rumors and the borders and stuff like that. But some
Interesting.
carriers have endorsements that you can buy some of that coverage back. It just depends on what they're comfortable writing.
Right, and it could also state within whatever your policy is, if they're having mail delivered there. Because that may trigger residency. And that means now that the person that owns the property and lives primary
It depends
residence.
on how the policy defines household member. It depends on what the verbiage is, and you gotta look at the policy itself, and what does it say?
Well, that's why you ask.
Yeah.
If you have any,
And different
Potential
carriers do
conflicts.
interpret that in different ways. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. You gotta read it.
McDonough Beach, Nicholas 1781.
Well, it sounds to me like, well, there's a great deal of flexibility.
Absolutely.
And if you want something that isn't normally a standard boilerplate coverage, then you call the carrier and you say, can I get this? And it's very possible that they'll say, yeah, but of course we're gonna have to charge you for it, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
I
I mean, you
mean-
get that with the solar panels too.
And also flood insurance, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, flood is handled largely through the National Flood Insurance Program, but there's a lot more carriers getting into it on a
But
private
that's
basis.
not something that would normally be included in a typical homeowner's
No,
policy.
that's
You
a
have to
totally
apply-
separate thing.
Now, you just mentioned, now that you just piqued my interest, solar panels. So what's that all about? Now, I don't, but let's say I want solar panels. Okay, a guy comes in, solar panels.
is that a question you ask? Do you have
Yeah.
solar panels?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
they'd
that would,
ask.
so the
Yeah.
company would say on the form, do you have solar panels?
Yeah,
So they
and then
will
it
cover
depends,
that.
are you owning it, do you lease it, what does the
Okay.
lease agreement say, how long is it for? They want a little more detail.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense, right?
And a lot of
Vivian,
them
will your
take care
chair
of it.
slide any closer to the counter?
Yep, I'm sorry. And then,
Oh,
and then
speaking
you're
for them.
charged extra for the solar coverage.
It depends, some of it, again, it depends on the carrier. Some of them
Usually,
will
yes.
just say, yeah, okay. Others will say, well, we need a little more information, and they may or may not have an endorsement that covers that specifically.
I wonder how many people who install the solar panels know that.
I would
th-
imagine if they looked at their paperwork from the solar company, it would trigger something.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Because the solar company
that's
doesn't
good.
really want to be responsible for
No.
anything more than they have to be
Right,
either,
right,
so.
that makes sense. Yep, okay.
So on homeowners,
Yeah,
Ev, can you aim your mic at your mouth?
so on homeowners, when they're doing the analysis of how much it's gonna cost you to insure it, then it's still defined as replaceable insurance and then you don't have to go with replaceable insurance, or is it replaceable?
replacement cost, yeah, I'm gonna say 99% of all companies require you to carry the full replacement cost of your home.
But now, is it mandated, if you have no mortgage, is it mandated that you have to have homeowners insurance, like it's mandated in Massachusetts, you have to have car insurance?
Technically, no. No, if you own the home outright and you decide you don't wanna carry homeowners insurance at all, that's your decision. And when the big one hits, that's your consequences.
Right, but if it's earthquake insurance, that's extra. If it's
Yep.
hurricane insurance, it's extra. If you're on if your property's on moving water, or how close you are to a water
beach,
source,
sure.
that's extra.
Well, that's, like I say, the stuff that's near the water is pretty much all being underwritten by the Mass Property Insurance Underwriting Association, which is the safer plan, because the other carriers are just kind of, the losses from wind are worse than the losses from water, and they don't want to deal with it.
Now, how do you differentiate, I'm gonna give you an example, between a water event and a wind event?
when both are happening at the same time.
Yes, so if you have a hurricane and your property is on a floodplain, or you're near a floodplain, or you're near the ocean, or whatever it might be, where the possibility is if the wind blows enough, it's blowing the water. Okay? Maybe not a tidal event. Maybe it is a tidal event, but the wind is blowing the water, so you have that extra surge. Is that a wind event or a water event?
The carrier determines that based on the overall conditions in the area when it happens.
Florida?
Florida, that's a tough one, yeah, because they get a lot of those events and they have specific rules on how they handle these situations, how catastrophes are structured and claim handling processes I'm not really familiar with, but they figure it out and they just do it.
And it
yeah.
also shocks homeowners when events will happen.
Also,
Sure.
don't be afraid to tell the adjuster you don't know the answer. A tree, we'll say a branch falls off one of my trees and it breaks your windshield. The adjuster's going to ask, well, was it a healthy tree or a dead tree? Seems like and you're going to take a wag, which is a wild ass guess.
You're gonna see that more on the homeowner side than the auto side.
So you say, it's because they're coming after me for my insurance, because it was my tree that killed their car.
Okay,
And I told the insurance adjuster, I had no idea. They said somebody would take a picture of the tree, and they said the tree was healthy. It was an act of God. They paid $0. So when the adjuster's asking you questions, don't be bashful.
That
Just
actually
say, I
happened?
don't know.
That's a real example?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
all right.
that's- yeah, that's
I-
accurate.
So I was under the impression, and you're gonna correct me, okay, if this is incorrect, that if the tree from somebody else's property falls on your car, that it was the auto insurance,
If they have comprehensive on their car.
right?
Right.
And usually that's what happens in Massachusetts. If the tree from somebody else's property falls on your house, it's your insurance that pays that, not
Right.
them. Unless you want to bring them to court in order to make up the difference of what, and it's never financially worth it to make up the difference, or the insurance company then could go after the other insurance.
That is
Just like
true.
they do it in
Yeah.
a non-fault
Like-
I
accident.
mean, if you've got a neighbor who's got a dying or dead tree that's starting to shed a lot of limbs and stuff like that, I tend to tell people, if you're concerned about that damaging your property as a neighbor, send them a certified letter and ask them to remove it, because that is a liability problem.
And I can tell you, because I had that experience.
Okay.
I did that, because I had bought commercial property, and there is a buffer zone between the commercial property and my property. It's an easement of light and air, 60 feet, which I negotiated when I bought the property.
Okay.
And they own the trees. And the property owner did not know. They assumed that that area belonged to me, and it doesn't. It belongs to them. And one of the trees fell and damaged some of their property, and they sent me a very nasty letter, and they said, "Your tree." And I went back and I said, "Au contraire, mon ami, it is your tree, and here is the book and page
You are not alone.
in the Mass Registry,
happens.
and you will see that it's your property. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
And it took me about 3 months I mean, it was clear cut. I mean, you can look it up in the Mass Registry of Deeds, and you can see. But they still argued it, right? Because they didn't want to pay, right? And
It's
I
it's
said-
sad how many things are
Yeah.
not recorded in the Mass
your
Registry of
it's your
Deeds.
tree, pal.
So,
You-
yeah,
you
it's
know.
it's word versus word, and a lot of times the
Yeah.
courts are fighting it out.
Oh, and I had to fight, and I won, but it cost me a little bit of money, unfortunately. You know, so.
So, when Vivian first got here, John had a question about liability. And I want to make sure that you, John, you have the opportunity to ask that question.